Kia ora. So I want to talk a little bit today about the weave. So there's a connection between the work that we do, the stories we tell, and weaving. The biggest connection, of course, is threads. So we have threads of conversation that we bring together with one another. And how often do we talk about losing a thread of a conversation, threading together or weaving together thoughts and ideas and communication? So it's a beautiful metaphor for great communication. It's also a beautiful way to think about how we can bring different and diverse points of view together to create a greater whole. So just to illustrate that a little bit, here is, this is a double ICAT weave. So it takes someone about 18 months to weave this kind of a weaving. This one was made in a small village in Bali, and there's only 2, potentially 3 places in the world where this type of weaving is still done because it takes so long. There's a village in Bali, there's a village in Japan, and there's a village in Gujarat in India. So it's becoming a very, very rare form of weaving. The reason it's rare and it's difficult also is that you might notice here that the threads are tie-dyed. So the trick is that the weaver has to match up their pattern with these threads that have a pattern tie-dyed into them. So the accuracy is incredible, and the time that it takes to do that, as I said, to do this one, probably took about 18 months. So the thing about a weaving, and as a model for great communication, great collaboration, everything from that requires a group of people who might have a range of different points of view to come together to create something, is how I look at something like the weave. So the 2 main aspects of any weaving is the warp, and the warp are these strands going down, they're the verticals, and then the weft is what gets weaved through or woven through. So the thing about that is that at its essence it's a very simple thing, but as you can see with a piece of work like this and things around us, from carpets to clothing to Persian rugs, you name it, there can be an incredible amount of complexity in the woven form. So that's its opportunity, in a sense, is that it can both be very simple and complex depending on what it is that you want to create. So what I've used is some ideas and symbols to depict how different aspects of something need to come together with a diverse group to create a greater whole. And that comes together by visualizing, and there are a number of cultures in the world that use weaving as a metaphysical thing as well as a very physical, practical thing. So cultures might talk about the fabric of the universe, and we do that in the English-speaking world. But at the same time, weaving is obviously done in the Māori world in New Zealand for weaving baskets, kete, floorings in the Pacific as well. In many, many cultures, we weave a lot to make our environment work for us, whether it's in the materials of the places we live and work in, or whether it's the things that we wear. It's omnipresent. Weaving is everywhere that we are. So just to talk a little bit more about that, the verticals or the warp, I have it that doesn't change. That's like the physics of the universe. So that's the things, that's our deeper things that aren't always seen. That's our values, our vision, our beliefs, our commitments to things. And they're incredibly important as a frame. So each one of these strands can be, and I have it that in the corner of a weaving, you start with a vision. That's something that goes out across generations into the future. And it can be intangible because it's a big picture thing. And then we move through to the next element, which is our beliefs. Those are the things that we believe in that might not always be tangible. They're big picture things like values or aspects of connection with humanity and the planet that are the things that draw us together, that make us get out of bed in the morning. And lastly, it's our commitment. So nothing ever works if there isn't a commitment to continue, to actually, as one of the chapters in my book about commitment says, who would you die for? What would you give your all for in order to bring something into reality? So it's that level of commitment. We're in an era which is quite easy to just give up on stuff. Everything's disposable, whether it's tactile, physical things that we throw away, or whether it's relationships that are here today, gone tomorrow though. So the commitment to see something through is part of the warp, the framework that doesn't change. And then when we get to the weft, I have it that what we weave through here are the very practical actions that contribute to the big picture vision, beliefs and commitment. And they're made up of three main things. They're the things that we make, they're the things that we take action about, and they're the people that we serve. So that's service, action, and making. And that actually brings things to life, doesn't it? So when you actually think about this, you can use the weave as a plan, as a strategy, as a communication tool, working across difference. Because the thing about this is, at every intersection here in the weave are tensions. You know, too tight and things bunched up and things don't move. Too loose and there's holes in it. So you can have a plan, a strategy, a piece of communication, a project, a business, an ideal that won't come to life and won't work unless you've taken account of some flexibility in the weave. And any great weaver knows this, that there's a friction or a tension or a bit of give that we need to understand in how we approach things. The other thing is that you can actually think about these elements as being the doing side with the weft. You know, those are the actions. Some people like to default to that. They're the tactile things, the technical things, the detail. We need people that focus on that. But equally, we need people who focus on the more intangible, big picture, visionary stuff. And so this is a great model and a metaphor for those people all to come together around something and not be at loggerheads, because in actual fact they're intersecting all the time, and that's what we need more than anything else. So it's no mistake that cultures around the world use weaving both as a metaphor and a model, because it makes sense to have something that's very practical in our environment to explain something bigger that's actually beyond us potentially, but we know has some influence. Because whatever our beliefs, whether they be spiritual, religious, wherever they come from, we know there are some things that we don't know how to explain. Humankind hasn't locked down all intelligence, knowledge and wisdom on the planet. So this allows us to say, you know, there's something bigger and greater out there, but at the same time allows us some actions to take. So this can be the coming together of all of that. And it's interesting around language that weaving and the word technology come from the same source and root. So weaving is our oldest technology. And the thing about technology is that it is a kind of a craft as well in its origin. So we think today about technology as being digital stuff, clever stuff, algorithms. A lot of that, of course, is quite invisible and intangible, but it is practical and it's modern. So we think about technology as new things, but actually technology and craft has been with us since the beginning of time, since humankind first started to modify their environments to work better for them. So weaving is a great technology that we can utilize because it's both ancient but flexible and adaptable for a modern era, and that allows us to transcend time in a sense and reach a wide and diverse number of people from whatever walk to life to find a unifying factor in their difference. And what I love about it even more is the fact that there's no hierarchy, there's no top and bottom really, it's a matrix. And you need a matrix where there's a place for everybody to contribute to whatever picture or whatever tangible result you create overall. So that's just a snapshot, and there's so much depth to all of those elements that I've talked about that you can take it anywhere. You can take it anywhere, and I think we live in an era where we need this more than ever before, that we have a lot of very linear processes that default either to something that's very big picture but has nothing made, no actions taken to bring it to life, or else we default to something that's very linear that focuses just on the warp and not any intention or big picture or values or deeper intangible things in behind it. And so this great weaving is totally made up of a warp and a weft to create something amazing for today, for tomorrow, that draws on the past.